Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into a massive question. Why do we so often self-sabotage right on the brink of our biggest successes? You know the feeling, right? Just when you're about to cross the finish line on a major life goal, everything suddenly stalls out. Today we're analyzing some truly fascinating insights from the teachings of Abbas Manesh on a concept called aligning with the flow of God. We are going to explore the invisible mechanics of momentum, how our own minds love to hijack our progress, and how ancient texts actually hold a remarkably practical blueprint for modern success. Let's get into it.
We have absolutely all experienced this. You put in the blood, sweat, and tears, you hit that 99% mark of your goal, and then, inexplicably, you fail. It's a completely universal human experience. You've done the heavy lifting, the reward is literally staring you in the face, but suddenly, something shifts. Your energy just dissipates, the circumstances randomly work against you, and you find yourself sliding all the way backward.
So, why does this happen? Why do our biggest desires just sit there, half-finished, right when we're about to win? Is it just bad luck? Is it fate? Well, according to the source material we're exploring today, it's neither. It actually comes down to a very specific, controllable dynamic involving our mental focus and the energetic frequency we sustain.
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll uncover the missing link to your desires. Second, we'll explore the law of momentum. Third, we'll learn how to stop negative thoughts. Fourth, we'll decode a secret about present verbs in the Quran. And finally, letting go of future fears.
Let's jump right into part one, the missing link to your desires. The source material uses a really powerful framework here. If your goal requires a frequency level of 100 to manifest, repeatedly getting to 99 and then stopping means you still fail. Why? Because you've broken the energetic chain. Think about boiling water. You get it to 99 degrees Celsius and turn off the heat. Well, you don't have steam, you just have hot water. You absolutely must sustain that energy all the way through to 100.
Which brings us to part two, the law of momentum in life. Think about a volleyball or ping pong match. One team gets on a massive roll. They're totally in the zone, playing effortlessly. That's positive momentum. But on the flip side, the other team starts fumbling, making unforced errors, their confidence completely drops, and they spiral into negative momentum. It literally becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy for both sides.
So, what does any smart coach do in that situation? Whenever a team is stuck in that negative spiral, the coach immediately calls a timeout. They do it deliberately to disrupt the opponent's flow and snap their own team out of it. It just breaks the rhythm. And over 80% of the time, this quick pause completely resets the energy and the losing team starts scoring again. This is exactly what we have to learn to do in our own minds when negative thoughts start piling up. We have to call a mental timeout. And that leads us perfectly into part three, stopping the chain of negative thoughts. Let's look at this wild true story from the author Abbas Manesh about nearly going to jail in a foreign country and how he desperately used a mental timeout to stop catastrophic thinking. So he drives a brand new truck 3,000 kilometers across the US. He's totally exhausted, only to get pulled over at 3 a.m. The police aggressively accuse him of faking his international driver's license. Under the real threat of jail, he signs papers he doesn't even understand. His mind immediately starts a massive negative spiral. What if I go to jail? What if my whole record is ruined? But here's the genius part. He realized he had to call a timeout on his own panic. He deliberately shifted his focus to gratitude, thanking God for his health, for the new truck, and actively remembering past times when things had magically worked out for him. He refused to let that fear snowball. And amazingly, weeks later, when he went to court in this tiny desert town, it turned out the judge had actually lived in his home country years ago. They totally bonded, and the police chief dismissed the case entirely with an apology. That positive outcome was a direct result of him killing the negative momentum.
Moving on to part four, the secret of present continuous verbs in the Quran. Now this is absolutely fascinating. There are over 800 instances of a very specific grammatical choice in the Quran that completely backs up this whole concept of momentum. We're talking about the use of present continuous verbs. The text relies incredibly heavily on present continuous verbs, meaning ongoing, unbroken actions. It proves that divine rewards don't just come from one random good deed, they come from continuous momentum. It doesn't say they believed once, it says they are continuously believing. It doesn't say they gave once, it says they are continuously giving. They are always in a state of seeking help and believing. That's the real secret here. Aligning with God's flow requires an unbroken, continuous state of faith. It acts exactly like that positive momentum in a sports match.
If you maintain that frequency, if you stay in that continuous present action, the flow of success becomes inevitable. But the very moment you pause to doubt, you break the chain. Finally, let's look at part 5, letting go of the fear of the future. We are all so guilty of this. We kill our own momentum by obsessing over the what-ifs before we even start. You want to launch a business, but your brain goes, well, what if I get sued? You want to have a kid, but you think, what if they cry all night and I lose my job? You are literally putting out the fire before the water even has a chance to get warm.
Just look at how this plays out in the business world. Giants like Uber or Airbnb built absolutely massive momentum by executing first and worrying about city regulations only when they actually became real problems. Honestly, if the founders of Airbnb had sat around on day one stressing about hotel zoning laws, they never would have even launched. They embraced the momentum, they got the customers, and they just trusted they'd figure out the solutions when the time came.
And when you actually apply this, the results are amazing. When students of these teachings finally stopped their negative momentum, they saw miraculous, tangible results. The source shares incredible stories. One person dropped a brutal 15-year drug addiction and lost over 60 pounds just by aligning their focus. Another saw their income triple in a super short period by letting go of financial anxiety. One woman completely rebuilt a struggling 20-year marriage into a deeply loving relationship simply by maintaining positive mental momentum and refusing to entertain those negative spirals.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to really trust that the same flow that brings you your desires will seamlessly provide the solutions for whatever comes tomorrow. Please, don't sabotage your 99% by stressing over a problem that literally hasn't happened yet. Just ask yourself, if God guided you to your dream, wouldn't He also guide you through the challenges that follow?